I think this month is going to end up being Energy Month, talking about energy. So we started last Sunday talking about energy and how important it is in our lives constantly, whether we're aware or conscious of it, but we're always dealing with energy because everything begins as energy. We, through consciousness, put vibration to energy. And through the fact of how we choose to think, how we choose to perceive, puts a frequency to that energy that gives it a pattern. And that pattern is the life you live. The pattern. If we're coming from the ego system, we build upon fear and greed and all of those lower aspects of the human experience. If we're coming from love and peace, then we pattern those things into our life and we live a peaceful life. We live a loving life, or we live a depressed life, or we live a fearful life. This is in our power and how that we're going to choose. And we mustn't give our power away to those that we believe are going to decide for us how we're going to live in the world. Whether it's religions, governments, education, or any other system that has ruled for these last many thousands of years that has molded all of us into their image and likeness. You know, you've already been created in the image and likeness of your Creator, and then unfortunately we have given that power away that was given to us for creation to those who wanted to reform us and miscreate us into images that only gave benefit to the few. And we're in a great shift of energy right now as it is moving more and more from where the energy has been centered in third dimension, in our governments, religions, and all of the other systems that we can name that have been a few that have benefited and a few that have decided. And the fact that that energy is shifting, it's bringing up a lot that has been suppressed for a long time. And this is a time for massive collective healing to take place for not just you, the individual, but you that represents the mass consciousness. We're working in something much bigger than ourselves. And I know the ego says, I don't want to hurt. Sorry, you do. But got to realize that the hurt that I have, the pain that I have, is the pain that's out there for everybody. You know, Eckhart Tolle calls it the pain body. America has its own pain body, you know, of unresolved issues such as racism, bigotry, and the fact of how we've treated women and we've treated Mother Earth. All of these things are emerging on the body politic, not for us to wonder what went wrong. Maybe you want to shift that to what has spiritually taken place. I'm not saying it always feels right. Spirituality doesn't always feel right and it doesn't always feel wrong, but it's always with purpose. It's always defining itself as something for the greater good. So in this time that we're experiencing breakdown, as I call it, and chaos and crises is a spiritual thing. I don't know how good it feels. I can't tell you it feels good to watch what's going on in the world today. But as a person who claims to be spirit-centered, then I have to come from a spiritual place that says something is happening for the higher good. And everyone's a player in that. And I can't exclude anybody because we have manifested everyone that is a player at this time from our own collective unconscious. So this is the message that we had this morning over there. It's the message that I so believe in. So I want to talk about energy cords. We'll see how far we get in this, but if I don't, we'll continue it and just continue this month talking about the powers that we have on an energetic level to reestablish, repattern, and therefore transform and change our very lives individually as well as collectively. What are energy cords? Energy cords are emotional connections to someone or something that gives and receives energy. We constantly and unconsciously create cords with numerous things and people in our lives, whether we like it or not. It's going to happen. The strongest cords that we create between people, places, and things are those whom we have frequent contact. So it's very clear that not every person that you just meet in passing, someone that you deal with at the grocery store in line or something like that, doesn't mean that you're creating an energy cord with them. But it's those that you're entering into any kind of a relationship with, in which it is repeated over and over again until that energy takes on a pattern of a connection between you and that person, place, or thing that we call an energy cord. Cords are usually connected through the chakras. We are plugged into what other people and places and things are about in the relationship that we are having with them. Energy cords are someone like ropes of emotional energy that keeps us connected to someone else, something. It could be food, sex, drugs, and religious cords. You'd be surprised how many people know better and have grown mentally from their old childhood doctrines of religion, and they've come out, but the religion hadn't come out of them. I see that with these especially more exclusive religions. When a religion says we are the only right way and the only religion, and you buy into that in your early years, in those years that you are producing your first chakra, your base chakra, which is from conception to about 5 or 6 years old. You know, the Catholic Church is so bold to be very clear to tell us, give us your children till 6 years old and we'll have them for life. They understand that these are your first root assumptions. The things that you assume to be real from outside yourself, that you plug yourself into, becomes one of the strongest energy cords that you have to break to move on into the higher spiritual and move out of the lower human religious chakras into the more spiritual awakening chakras. And many of us want to try to do this by carrying with us these unresolved cords. And therefore, that's when it gets discouraging, like, when's it going to happen? You know, I've been to 532 prosperity workshops. When's the prosperity going to come? I go to every healing service there is around. When's the healing going to happen? You know, I go to positive thinking, but when is the depression going to leave and the discouragement going to leave? And that's where I think there's a big gap, even in New Thought and metaphysics, is between what is taught and the life that we live because of the teachings. And we've got to bridge that. We've got to find out what it is to do that. So, for instance, if you have a cord with someone from the heart, and that cord doesn't go to the other person's heart, you have what A Course in Miracles calls a special relationship. And you got to be careful about special relationships, because what special relationships means is that we project on a body the relationship, and therefore we connect our power to something outside of ourselves, and we give that power away. A holy relationship is different than a special relationship, and that is a relationship that is built upon spiritual purpose. Two people or whoever, whatever, comes together not because of just an outer attraction or an outer agenda, but because there's a divine connection that is going on between two human experiences that are coming together for the greater good. So that's a hard one, because we want the person that we fall in love with. That's scary. That's just scary. I don't know why people want to fall in love. I don't know why people want to fall into anything. But to come together as co-creative equals, as co-creative in the sense of I'm here, attracted to you. Yeah, you look pretty good. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with being attracted to somebody who happens to have a body that you kind of like and you find attractive. But the truth is, that ain't going to stay that way. And people who build on that don't end up with long-term relationships or marriages. You've got to connect on something that is not changing. It's called the constant. The constant is the divine, the sacred. I am God and I change not, it says. I like that. I am spirit. I'm the authentic you that changes not. That is that place in you that is always constant. It doesn't fluctuate. It doesn't go up and it doesn't go down. But it is always that which is available to you if you center yourself into that place within yourself, the divine. So let's say that a person has a heart and really loves a person, and the person they're connected to is not heart to heart chakra, but from heart to solar plex. Now that's a different thing. Now solar plex is your power chakra, your self-power chakra. So it kind of looks something like that. See how beautiful it is between two hearts that come together? Because they're together, brought together by divine purpose, by spiritual connection, to be a co-creative partner, a twin flame, I call them. I'm very reluctant to people that say, oh, I just found my soulmate. And I go, my prayers are with you. Soulmate is work. Soulmates mirror and reflect each other's soul, which is trying to grow and mature. Why do you think it comes back and back and back? If you believe that it comes back because it's trying to grow and work out stuff that it is picked up. It is the human story, good or bad, right or wrong, mispatterning, patterning, it's all there. So it's always trying to work something out. So when two people come together at a soul purpose, it is to help people realize what we've not healed in ourselves. In other words, a soul partner reminds you of what you've not healed in you. Now, if people come together who have done that work individually, let's say you've done your work in the sense of clearing out, balancing your soul and your chakras and all of that, and you're pretty much done with your own individual work, and you're attracted to another person who's also done the work, and you come together at that level, rather than to work on each other, you now become co-creative partners to work on the planet. So you really want what I call a twin flame or a co-creative partner in your life, because we need to partner with the intention that we want to be available to help our planet at this time of change and transformation. So if I'm imbalanced between heart and a chakra that is not coming from the heart, then I create a dark, heavy cord that is between us, and all kinds of problems begins to happen at that point. Temporary cords from any time we relate to a stranger but dissipate quickly once the relationship is over, particularly if there's no extended karma needs to be worked out. So there's all kinds of things going on. People are drawn together for karmic reasons or for past life. Maybe the people did not finish something at another time that they had a relationship. So they come back together to finish that and have an opportunity to work on that relationship that is between them. I think one of the greatest things we can all do, even with parents and children, you got to remember your parents didn't start out as your parents. You young people hear me, and you people that's got parents that's still alive, and you resent them because they date later in life, like, I don't want to hear about my mama's sex life. That just drives me crazy when people say things like that, because they're people too. They have feelings, and I don't like it when children try to keep them, you're my mom. And moms don't do that, but humans do. Let's go back another step. Even before human, we were all together in the mind of God. Before we had bodies, before we had DNA, before anybody was your child or your mother or your sister or your brother, there was only one of us. The only begotten expression of God in the earth. And we have to honor that in our relationships. You have to honor that part of people that does not belong to you on a physical level. And honor that. Honor that in your children. Your children's not 100% your children. Not everything in your child came from you. There's things in your child that came through you from a higher source. And you have to reverence that. When you reverence that, you're reverencing God in that human connection with that person. Same way with that husband, that wife, that partner, significant other, whatever you have in your life. That means that you have to bring in a whole different way of why are you in relationship with someone at all. So what we need to do is, I'm sure, the question. So I want to talk about a few of these chords just a little bit. I tried to pick out some that I thought were important to us, because there's a lot of them. There's chords between you and your pets. We could talk about that. The earth, Mother Earth. Childhood in your past. Past life chords. All of these. But the one I want to talk about that is dear to my heart, are you ready? Computer and social media strands. Are you ready? A modern kind of courting exists within the realm of the internet. You can have connecting cords to Facebook's friends whom you've never met in person, so it's a good idea to make sure your social media friends are people you feel good with. The emails that come into your computer and stay in your archives can be connected to you by thin strands of energy. By keeping the messages, you are keeping a bit of their energy. Eliminate any that you don't feel good about. Also, the people you have in your address list, even if you don't often think about them, are connected to you by strands of energy. Is there anyone you have a less than positive association with in your address book? If so, you might be a good idea to delete them from your list. So energy is energy. I'm doing my best to not be mean about technology, because I think there's a place for technology, no doubt about it. But technology can't use you. You must remember you're the center of your power, and through your power, use it, and use it wisely. There's wonderful things that you can do even on a spiritual level using these wonderful things that we have electronically. But people who are sitting around all the time, I just don't like what I see. I just don't like what I see when I go out in public and see everybody on their phones. I was in the mall the other day, yesterday, and I don't know how many people almost ran into me because they were on their phones. There is an addiction that is happening, and energy cords are addictions. If you want to know what an addiction is, it is a strong energy cord that seeks to be fed over and over and over again. So I'm not trying to say bad, good, evil, right or wrong. I don't think in itself anything is good or bad, right or wrong. But I think sometimes the way we use it is not very much for the higher good of mankind. And I'm sorry, but I'm seeing a generation that is losing their human skills. Go into a store somewhere. They don't know what to do. They don't... I just watched somebody the other day, a young person, went into a antique shop, and there was a phone that you dial. And they say, well, what do you do with this? And somebody said, well, you actually go all the way around. And they go, you're kidding. They just didn't get it whatsoever. So that's the generation that's coming, and we need to reach out to you that have children and try your best to bring a better balance into how to use it. Now, I live with somebody that's on the phone quite a bit, but it's our business. It's our business is why I am trying to be okay with it all the time. But when you lose that connection, I think it's so powerful. I appreciate we're streaming live today, and I appreciate anyone that is joining us on streaming. We love having you, but we'd like for you to come here if you're in Charlotte and come and be with us, that we can see you as a person and hear you and hug you and let you know that you are loved on a physical level, not just electronically. So there's a place for everything. It's just that we can't be out of balance with things. We must bring things back into a balance. So what I wanted to do this morning is give you 7 reasons, I guess, if I can find where I am. 7 signs that you may have cords of attachment. First, you can't stop thinking about the other person. No matter what you try, you can't stop thinking about another person. They are really present in your life, and you can't enjoy what is happening in front of you. Instead, you keep thinking about him or her, even if months and years have passed since the last time that you spoke with this person. He or she appears to be in your thoughts. This could be a sign of an energy cord attachment. Second is imaginary arguments. Not only can't you stop thinking about this person, but you also have imaginary arguments with him or her. You constantly revisit past events that you shared with this person. Imagine saying things that you never actually said, but now you wish you had. These imagined scenarios cause painful or stressful emotional reactions. Are you reliving something in the past with a person? That is the way you're cycling your energy over and over till it's created a loop, an energy loop, which becomes strongly a cord or an attachment. Relationship karmic loop. Maybe you feel like you have moved on because you no longer think of that person. However, you keep finding yourself stuck in the same relationship dynamics. Now, I've been talking about this for a long time as a minister and a person who has done some counseling with people, that people will say, come and I want you to stand with me and let's pray. I'm in an abusive relationship. I'm being abused in this relationship, and I'm having a hard time getting out. And we pray and do energy work or whatever we do, and the person builds up enough energy to get out of that abusive relationship. Because at that point, they get out is a point in which they realize it's not, they can't do anything about it at this time. That's just the way it is. And I agree. I think people should not stay. If you're being abused in a relationship, you need to do something about it. But not everybody's able to do that. But let's say they do. Well, maybe in a few weeks, a few months, I get a call and they'll say, David, thank you so much for helping me get out of an abusive relationship, but I have met the one. I've found my soulmate. I said, oh, well, I'd love to meet him or her, whichever. And so I meet. I'm not in their presence 5 minutes that I realize same pattern, different person. And sure enough, the same thing is repeated again. The Course says different form, same content. So the ego says just change people. Here's another thing with me. Change places. I have moved so much. I told you I don't have it anymore, but I had my own U-Haul truck with my name on it presented to me at my 25th anniversary as a minister. Because I had moved, 68 times or some crazy thing. I've lived because I always thought the grass would be greener. And every time I moved somewhere, guess who was there? Me. There I was again. So I'm trying to get established, stay in Charlotte after the second time, like nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. You know, let's stand still and see the salvation of God, you know, in that way. So that's a karmic loop. That means that you change situations, people, places, homes, whatever, but you continue the same pattern of relationship with that person. 4, they appear in your dreams. Cords of attachments can span multiple dimensions of consciousness. When you dream, you visit the astral dimension. And if you have cords attached with someone, then you most likely see that person in your dreams. While dreaming, you can reenact old dramas that leave you rattled, or you can dream without fulfilling unconscious desires, like getting back together again. So watch who's showing up in your dreams from your past. Even, I would say, even those who have gone through the other side. You know? Now, I'm not saying all attachments are bad attachments in that way, but there's some that's not good, especially if somebody abused you, somebody molested you, something like that, and you keep dreaming that experience over and over again. You need that energy taken care of, that cord cut. Okay? 6, you can't forgive. Feelings of resentment or bitterness towards someone else is a strong indicator that you have cords of attachment with that person. When you hold a grudge with someone and you find it almost impossible to forgive them, you are drinking poison and expecting them to die. Although you might intuitively know that forgiveness is the right thing to do. Cords of attachments are what prevent you from truly forgiving yourself and the other person for what happened. Okay? So the wrong cords connected with people can keep us actually from moving forward, which is what forgiveness is all about. Forgiveness frees up new energy. When you forgive someone, when you release a cord between somebody that you are financing energetically, you got to look at this whole thing as an investment program. You're given energy. Life is energy. And how you are investing and what you're financing. If I'm constantly feel I can't be happy because something happened to me 20 years ago, I'm still financing nothing but a memory. An idol that has eyes that cannot see, ears that cannot hear, a throat that cannot speak, and feet that cannot stand, Psalms 15 says. Why do we keep giving our energy to dead idols that don't exist any longer? Unless it's happening to you right now, and it happened 20 years ago or when you was a child, why do we choose to refinance that over and over and over again and create an energy cord to that? Because the energy goes out through the cord to that memory, not to the person. Person don't care. You think these people that you are upset with, that has done you wrong, are sitting around thinking about you? Like you're sitting around thinking about them? Let it go. Let's cut the cord. And 7, can't get them out of your life. I've run into this. I've experienced it. I would say probably most of us, if not all of us, have had a relationship that was very much built on the sacral chakra. Yes, sexual. The sacral is the place of our sexuality. When people come together on a sexual level and their connection is through sexual encounter with each other, this is very unhealthy. Very unhealthy. And I have seen people who, one, gets into a situation in which they fight and argue about everything in their life, but they end up out of that argument having the best sex they've ever had. Now, I know you're uncomfortable when I mention sex. Get over it. This is where it should be talked about. Oh, but there might be a child here. Well, there's any children. But if they were, they need to hear it. Don't shelter your children from hearing things from the spiritual point of view. They're going to hear it at school. They're going to hear it on the street. They're going to hear it from their friends. Why not hear it from a spiritual community in the context of spirituality while they're still young? I think we over-shield our children in basically that way. So what I'm saying to you is I have been in a relationship, it's back in the 70s, that was very much eros. That's the Greek word for love. Didn't really care a lot about the person that much, but It was Eros. It was Eros. Other than that, it was terrible. It was filled with jealousy, insecurity. Oh, it was just a nightmare most of the time. But that cord that we built from sacral to sacral without the heart, and fed it over and over again. And finally, when things got so bad, and it did, it went downhill and it became almost dangerous at some point. That you had to do something to get out. And you just couldn't get away. I remember this. I had to move out of state. That's how bad it was. I had to move out of state. And this person would call me on the phone and cock a gun while talking to me and say, I'm going to blow my brains out. You know, which I felt guilt at that time. So it took a long time to break that. And I still think of this person. I still hear songs. I think about this person. I still once in a while shows up in my dreams. And I realize that even though, and they passed away many years ago, back in the late 70s. That's a long time ago. And I'm still carrying this with me about that relationship. The connection you have through cords attachments is not a pleasant one oftentimes. Cords of attachment contain the energy from the unresolved issues and the negative emotions associated with dramatic events. The energy, negative energy from the cords of attachment disrupt the natural harmonious flow of your auric field. And because you have an opening in your aura via the cord of attachment, your precious life force energy can be spilled and sometimes even siphoned by the person on the other end. That's amazing. What's taking your energy? Where's your energy going? What are you investing in? What are you financing? These are questions that we must look as we step outside and review our lives and stop blaming other people. We have to stop projecting on other people that they are the cause. In my head, you are not the cause. I'm the cause because I choose how I'm going to respond to it. I can't always choose what people do to me. And that's why I can't throw away the fact that there is victimization in the outer world, but not on my inner world. My inner world is my power to choose how I respond. Nobody chooses that for me. If I choose to be angry, then I chose to be angry. Oh no, but he made me angry. Or she made me angry. Don't convert. Call.